Today I made a choice. After yet another restless night's sleep, perhaps only sleeping for 2 or 3 hours, and it's been that way for about 2 months. In amongst listening to some wonderful teachings and reflections from Holliday, who is the closest being I have to a Kundalini teacher and guru on my path. I highly recommend his work. He's wonderful and very validating. In between listening to his teachings and absorbing his practices, saturating myself in the frequency of acceptance for my path, a realization dawned on me in the early hours of this morning that it's finally time. That it's finally time to fully claim my spiritual path. And, in spite of appearances, yes, I'm on YouTube and I speak about this content openly, and yes, I've done some work with people to support the spiritual awakening process. But despite those kind of external cues, actually internally, I've still held a tremendous amount of bondage to conditioning, expectations, standards of how I think I should be living. And it's been slowly eroded at through this process with the Kundalini. The mother is just gobbling up my will. She's just devouring personal will. And this showed up a lot last year. A year that was almost like a dream when I think back to it. A year where I spent the year traveling with my ex-fiancé. I had intended at the start of that year to go to North India and to complete what my soul had started. I know that I must return to India and I must return to the North. This has been very clear in my visions and my guidance. I was in a similar shedding and letting go phase at the end of 2023, and I was ready to start this process of deep focus on my spiritual path at the beginning of last year. But I had met my now ex-fiancé, and it's like a giant karmic curveball. And it was a wonderful year. It was a beautiful year in so many ways. But it came to a crashing halt at the end of 2024. For me, in a very unexpected way. The relationship began to dissolve. He pulled back. He was on the other side of the world, still is on the other side of the world, and has essentially kind of opted out of the relationship emotionally, spiritually, because of his own healing process. But that whole year, I was fighting the deep impulse within me to fully devote myself to my spiritual path and to surrender to the Kundalini, to surrender to this process of purification, and simultaneously trying to maintain some semblance of the woman that everyone expects me to be. The woman that works and does and produces and creates and keeps up with the pace of life. Meanwhile, I've got this force of creation telling me to just stop, to slow down, to be, to honor the process I'm going through, which is the most divine process a being could ever undergo, the most miraculous alchemy. So God put a halt to this relationship because it was not honoring this truth. that I'm not here to walk a traditional path. I'm not on a traditional path. I haven't been on a traditional path for a very long time. But part of me has still been holding on to parental, partner, societal values about what is right and true and traditional and normal. And therefore I've been deeply disappointing myself and creating a deep chasm within myself, which also then shows up externally, where I'm not able to keep pace with what people expect of me, what I've been expecting of myself. There's a chasm between what I'm doing and what I want to do. And it's difficult being a white woman growing up in a fairly humble, trauma-entrenched family with parents, one of which doesn't see you at all, and the other who loves you but doesn't understand you, doesn't understand the path you're on. Growing up as the unicorn in my family, just this sort of anomaly that doesn't fit in anywhere. My path doesn't make sense to the people around me. And it's so painful to the part that wants to belong, that wants to experience unconditional love, that wants to be accepted for who they are. It's so painful to be faced with those mirrors over and over again, that the deep impulse you have for awakening is not valid, when arguably to me it's the most valid path we can ever take, because this is all Maya. People are living identified with a movie. It doesn't exist, what they believe in, what they invest in. It's just coping mechanisms and dissociation and numbness. It's not real. It's not true. It's not sacred. It's not love. It's been so painful to try and split myself in two, to try and straddle this deep, unwavering current within me that is seeking higher ground, that is intent on climbing the mountain, while simultaneously trying to pretend that the mountain doesn't exist, that this path doesn't exist. I live with my parents and I'm going through profound Kundalini surges, profound shifts in consciousness, but I'm trying to pretend I'm not, because they don't understand. They have no context for it. They don't care. It's not their value system. It's not their path in this life. It's not wrong. It's just the chasm is very great. And I've just told my mum about my decision to go back to North India to heal my heart from this breakup, which was needed. The relationship couldn't have sustained, but it's still incredibly painful because I had made a commitment to this man and I loved him and still do love him very deeply. So my heart needs to heal, my nervous system needs to heal, because it's been really, really obliterated from this process, both with the breakup and also with the Kundalini. It's been very, very intense. And just because, not even that I need to justify my reason for wanting to go to North India, other than because I'm on a spiritual path, and that this is the path I choose. And I don't think I've ever fully claimed my path before. I've dabbled. I've claimed it in some areas, in my friendships, most of my friendships, in my little corner of YouTube. But at a mundane level, day to day, interacting with the world around me, I haven't fully claimed this path. I've shrunk myself, shamed myself, denied the fact that there is a light within me that is intent on liberation and wants nothing more. Nothing else matters to me, deep down. And today I decided to stop denying that. To finally claim my path. To stop hiding myself and this divine process because people don't understand. Because the world shames and invalidates and demeans and judges and projects. Kundalini has eroded away at enough will now for me to finally stop caring about that shit. I don't care anymore if they don't understand. I'm fortunate enough to have maybe half a dozen to a dozen people in my life that I know get it, that understand, that I don't have to justify to, because they get it too. Their soul is also intent on liberation in their own way. And that's enough for me, that they understand. And maybe some of you will understand. And I hope perhaps in me sharing this, it provides you also with validation if you've been struggling. It's time to stop denying ourselves, our truth, our light. It's time to free ourselves. The world will not validate you as a unicorn in a room full of donkeys. You're here to be a unicorn. You're going to pattern interrupt, disrupt people's ideas, people's notions. That's what you came here to do. Claim your unicornness. Own it fully. Who gives a fuck what they think? Let them walk their own path. Just focus on your own. I have put off this pivotal process and surrender for far too long. And now my soul is saying, it's time, Natasha, to surrender to this process. Let go. Let go of every single thread and string you've been holding on to in your life. Let go of the relationship. Let go of the idea about what you should be doing. Let go of the idea about the business. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Just take your beautiful being and a backpack and get to the motherland and just be. Be without conditions around that being, without the pressure of needing to work and conform, without the pressure of needing to become something or someone, just to be, to bask in my beingness. For nearly the 10 years I've been on this path, I haven't actually had the freedom to just be without some anxiety about what's coming. Where am I going to get the money from for the next 2-3 months? What am I going to do when I go back to England? How am I going to support this partnership so I can be a more worthy contributing partner? There's always been a niggling. There's always been some distraction from me being able to completely surrender. And now I feel as though I'm just clearing the path, sweeping everything away, ready to climb that mountain road. And so I have a request. I have a favour to ask, because I'm not working. I have no income. I'm not being supported by the government. I don't have a wealthy family to provide. And I don't have enough will, nor desire, to slave within the system just to try and set my soul free, to go on this path. And so I have a favour to ask. If ever my work has touched you, has impacted you, inspired you, activated you, awakened you in some way, I am asking for contributions so that I can get out to India and be out there for a prolonged period of time. Enough time for me to surrender to this process of liberation, of spiritual maturation. It's time for me to be the student again, the student of the divine, to let the divine move my process forwards. I've been trying to hold the role of teacher and student, and I will be a teacher again in some capacity, but for now I need to be in a space of receptivity to higher wisdom. And I promise that I will flow this wisdom and this support onwards. So I do ask that if my path and process has ever impacted you, that you consider making a contribution to my fundraiser. I am seeking to generate enough income so that I can actually surrender to this process and submit to this process. Little dog sniffing around and looking around. So yes, thank you. Thank you in advance if you choose to make a contribution. And I calculated that if every person on this channel, and there are currently 4.4 thousand subscribers here, if every person subscribed donated £1.50, I would have enough money to sustain me, to get to India and sustain me out there for 6 months, which would provide me with the most wonderful opportunity for spiritual solitude and sanctuary and surrender that my soul is so deeply hungry for. And I don't know how or when or where, but I know that I will flow what is received onwards. I will flow it back into the web of life. I will flow it back to you, directly or indirectly. So thank you for considering contributing if you choose to. And if you don't feel called to contribute at a monetary level, you could also support by liking this video, commenting, subscribing if you're not already subscribed, because it helps the algorithm take my content to people that will resonate, that may also support the cause. And it feels liberating to actually ask for help. Even if I only have one contribution of £1.50, and I'll gratefully receive that. But it feels liberating to ask for help and to deem my path worthy enough of support, to deem myself worthy enough of support. That's really what it comes down to. That I'm a worthy being, that my path is worthy, that the spiritual process I'm moving through is worthy. It may not be understood, may not be validated by most of society, but it's worthy, it's valuable, and it's destined. Space has opened up today. Clarity, freedom, joy at finally choosing. And it's so obvious to me now when I look back retrospectively how easily we can get caught down little cul-de-sacs and detours on our path that feel like 80% of truth, 85% of truth, 90% of truth, but 10% is still conditioning. It's still us trying to meet an expectation. It's still us trying to get validation or approval. There's still 10% holding on to an idea rather than being an authentic outpouring at 100% of what's true. On a genuine spiritual path, the divine is asking, demanding 100% adherence to truth. Where are you holding on to something that is false when you are being asked to let go and open to what is true? It is not easy. We may be challenged internally, externally, we almost definitely will be. But the liberation and the freedom that comes from validating ourselves and choosing our truth is so worth it. It's so worth it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Thank you for taking the time to receive what I share here. This YouTube space means so much to me. It's a very creative space for me. It's also one of the few spaces that I feel I can connect with many other like-minded souls who understand or are on, in some way, their own liberation-based journey. So thank you for being here. It's time.